Let's be real. Have you ever scrolled through Instagram and thought, why does my life look nothing like this? The perfect bodies, the relationships, the money. It feels like everyone has it together except for you. But what if I told you that even the people who seem to have it all are struggling behind the scenes? Today, I want to pull back the curtain on the truth behind social media, the pressure, the addiction, the self-doubt. And I don't want to stop there because my guest, Laura Colosio, knows what it's like to have your entire world shatter, to be betrayed in the worst way, to be a single mother and wonder, how the hell am I going to do this? This is not a fluffy conversation. This is the truth. Laura, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
People see your Instagram and probably think you have it all. But I want you to be honest with me for a moment. Has there ever been a time when you felt like you had to wear a mask online, or everything might be falling apart in your world and you felt like you had to show up and be perfect?
Yes, all the time.
What is that? What is the reason for that? Is that because there's pressures that go along with social media? Like, talk to me about maybe that moment when you feel like, you had to maybe wear a mask or be different than you really wanted to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think it happens to everyone. We all compare ourselves online, and sometimes I don't think you even realize you're doing it. Like, it just comes like second nature. You see something, and everybody's life looks so put together. Obviously, we show our best version of ourselves online, so you're not gonna show the moments when you're struggling. You show all the pretty and nice things, and I mean, I do it all the time.
Is it is it hard to, I guess, why do you think we feel that pressure to show up that way? Is it just like the comparison to other people, or maybe you're competitive and you see,
Yeah, I think the competition has a lot to do with it.
so when you're on there and maybe you see somebody else's post, you're like, oh, her post is dope, like I want my post to be better than hers, or
Not even necessarily better, but I think like y- it's also like a trend thing, it's trendy. Like you want to be a part of it, and it's like a FOMO thing too.
so
So
like,
I feel like you want to keep up.
okay. um I feel like social media awards perfection. What happens when you don't feel perfect? Do you, like we
I
kind of
think
talk,
like as like I mean like any regular person, you just don't post, like until you feel
like you
like
want
good
to?
enough. Yeah. But if you are considered an influencer, you're trying to do that, then you kind of have to, and you have to pretend.
What's the amount of time, or is there a lot of energy and time that goes into like posting, or a lot of thought process behind
It
it?
looks really easy, but it's not. It's a lot goes into it. There's so much, like, it takes so much of your energy, for me at least. Maybe because I'm a perfectionist, but I think anybody who wants to do social media or is doing social media, like, it it takes it's very time consuming. You want it to be perfect, and it it takes a lot of my time.
What about the days when you're feeling like emotionally or physically drained? Do and you still, or do you feel like, even though when you're feeling that way, you still have to get on camera and perform?
Hmm. I still feel that way.
So how do you prepare yourself for that? Because I can tell you right now, when I'm going through it, it's hard. I have to really talk myself through it to show up at work and be the person I need to be. You have to be on camera, have to smile, have to have all your stuff done. So like, how do you work through those moments?
Well, my obviously my niche is fitness,
Right.
and it's all about how you look. There's been so many times where I don't like how I look, or I don't feel good, or I'm not in the mood to go to the gym, but I just make myself.
What do you, so I mean, how long have you been working out now for?
Like 8 years.
8 years? Do you
Might not seem that way, but
do you feel like the culture has changed? Like I remember the
Absolutely.
fitness culture has completely changed. Like I'll go to the gym and guys is showing up like full fits. I'm like, bro, are we at the gym or
Love.
are we at the club? Like it's crazy how much has changed. What have you seen that?
Yeah.
Have you
I think it's so trendy right now that everyone's doing it, and guys and girls, like a lot of it is for the aesthetic and the looks and the pictures. And when I started out, which I was 21, so yeah, almost 10 years ago, it was, well, guys did you wore like your ugliest.
a Nike tee?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when I started, it was like starting out, like it's starting to become like about the aesthetic, but guys didn't care. Girls were there to also just work out. Now it's like the shoes have to match the outfit and the matching outfits. And I feel like it's very, like I said, it's really, really trendy right now. And it wasn't like that back then. You went just to work out, you know?
Yeah, and thinking about that now is, I mean, there's a question in my head. I wonder if that's why it's become more trendy for people to work out, because fitness is a big thing now, right, in the world. But I wonder if it's because people feel like, oh, I'm fly, I'm pulling up to the gym,
Yeah.
because it's almost like the same thing of pulling up to the club. But
No, really.
yeah, but
The
what's
whole experience,
it
you
is.
know?
What's also interesting though is that it takes enough energy alone just to go to the gym, period. Like we're talking about, right? Some days you don't even feel like you
Right.
want to go. But then now when you feel like you want to go, not only do you just have to throw on some, some leggings, a tee, some shoes. Now you gotta throw on some leggings and tee, some shoes. You gotta have your hair done, you gotta have your makeup done, you gotta show up super like super just you gotta be fly.
Yeah.
So but I guess I wonder if that's really changed the dynamic and why we're seeing more people in the gyms
Yeah,
because
I think so. For sure. I think it has a lot to do with it.
what's the best gym in Tucson?
World, I guess.
Worlds? Yeah. Why is that? Just the vibe in there, the aesthetic?
Yeah, the aesthetic. People are there. You're gonna see cameras and tripods everywhere, but I think it's like the music in there, the vibe. Like they have the best equipment because it's the newest gym in town. I mean, that it could be a positive or a negative thing. I guess you're gonna run into everyone there.
Do you feel like sometimes with this new way, the new generation, like working out is more about like showing that you're working out more than like actually putting the work in
Yeah.
and getting it done?
Yes. There's a lot of people that still like, you could be both, like the trendy but really put in the work. But I feel like a large percentage of people are just there to say they're working out and for the outfits and for the videos and for, you know, especially girls.
Yeah, it's crazy. The wave is different.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm
No,
glad that people are like choosing something healthy to do. But yeah, it is. It also makes it a little tougher for the people that really are there for to work out, you know?
yeah, yeah. I when I look on Instagram, I'm always like, okay, is this person actually working out? Does this person actually work out, or they just
Yeah.
went to the gym, fitted down, you know?
I mean, you can be both, but
Yeah. So influencers always have to be on, right? You always have to be on. What's the cost of that mentally?
that's tough for me because, well, let me just start out by saying, like, I still don't consider myself an influencer. I think a lot of people do, or because of my followers and my count, but I don't. I still try to perform and I get really good opportunities sometimes, and that's why, it's fun. And at some point, I was really striving to do this, and then it just kind of happened for me, so I went with it, but it wasn't completely always my plan to be like an influencer.
So this just naturally happened. Like one day, how did it happen?
Um, I think for the first maybe like 40,000 followers, it just grew organically. My Instagram, I don't know, certain posts and stuff would go viral a little bit. And my TikTok like was growing really quickly, which I think TikTok is probably the easiest platform to grow on. Um, and a lot of my followers came from there. And then once I was like around 40,000 followers, I had one picture go like super viral, and it had like millions and millions of likes and views. And off that picture came like another 30, 40,000 followers.
That's
What picture? It's like a random normal picture. It wasn't anything special. It wasn't like a professionally photo shoot or anything like that. It was just a random picture I took in a mirror and I posted it, and which goes to show like post anything because you never know what's gonna hit, you know?
yeah, that's interesting. Did those moments ever feel like invasive to you, or like, dang, this is crazy. Like this is
Scared.
kind of invading my privacy, or these people don't even know who I am. Did you feel like you wanted to go into a shell a little bit, or did you just feel like, all right, cool, I'm gonna keep doing this?
I kind of just ran with it. No, I never felt uncomfortable, but also because, like I said, my TikTok grew really quickly, really fast, and that was kind of weird. But I feel like it's so normal now. Like everybody's doing or trying to do social media. Most people are. You know, it benefits people in different ways, and I feel like it was never really that weird to me. I just ran with it.
Hmm. Do you, is there ever a moment when you felt like you couldn't disappear on social media even when you wanted to because you were nervous that maybe people would forget about you?
Yeah, I think when my social media was like growing really quickly and it took off at that random moment, um, everyone tells you like once something is doing well, like on social media, you have to keep going, you know, you have to keep posting. You need to take advantage of the fact that you're already like being put on people's pages.
Right.
So when all of that was happening, I felt like you have to keep going. You have to, the first thing people tell you is you have to be consistent, right? So at that moment, I felt like I had to keep going. I had to keep doing it. I wanted to see how far I could get with it in that moment, you know? And there was times where I didn't feel like it, but especially because I wasn't used to it, like posting every single day or anything like that. But
Did you, so at that moment, did you just like, all right, cool, I'm gonna start posting every day?
yeah, it
Mm.
was every day or at least every other day. And then trying to like find out what was working. I know like at that time reels were very new on Instagram, and it was like people were saying like push reels, and Instagram was paying a lot for reels. So they were pushing reels a lot and it was brand new, but like you had to do it, I felt like, and I wanted to take advantage of the fact that I kind of knew what would work.
Mm-hmm. Tying back to the question about like not, having to be present on social media when you feel like you didn't want to be, or felt like you had expend too much energy. Why do you think it's so hard for people to be vulnerable on social media?
I think it's the same thing we're talking about, the perfection. Like, you know, I that it takes a lot to be vulnerable and real because it's not that's never perfect,
Right.
you know? So I think that if you show that side, you're not gonna look perfect. And we all know nobody's perfect, but that's what we show online is the most perfect version of ourselves. So I think that people don't want to show that because it makes you imperfect. It's not ever pretty, you know?
Yeah, and I think I wish we would see more of that, because I think there's real strength in the vulnerability. There's real courage in saying like, I'm not I'm not okay, or I'm having a bad day, or whatever. But like you said, most people want to make it seem like everything's perfect.
I wish there was more of that too. And I do think that when people do show that side of you, especially on TikTok, like you see TikTok is a lot more real. Like people go on there and just, yeah, like they talk about everything and anything. And Instagram is like a little more tailored and perfect. But I feel like on TikTok, like people, and it works for them, like they will be vulnerable or they'll do like story times, or, they'll go on there and just tell their business, and people love it and it works for them and it gets a lot of engagement. But again, it just depends.
On what platform? It's almost like the
Yeah.
memes you see like online, right? Like Facebook, they're in
That's
a certain
why TikTok is taking off right now and why it's so entertaining, I feel like.
because you feel like it's
Real.
more real,
Hmm.
more real.
Like raw. People will literally pull out their phone and just record something in the moment and post it, you know?
Mm.
Where on Instagram, it's like everything's edited and yeah.
Have you ever had a moment where you wanted to open up and that was painful and you stopped yourself because you were afraid of how people would react?
Yes. There's been multiple times where, especially like I said on TikTok, that I see posts like that. I'm like, I have a story to tell. Like, and I'm like, let me do it. And then it's scary.
Mm. Do and I'm assuming it was just for the same reason that you said earlier, right? Like everyone sees Laura as a certain way or that she's perfect or whatever, and you didn't want people to judge you or
Yeah, I think that. And also, like, a lot of these people that I'm telling you that will go on TikTok and tell a story or whatever, like, it's people that just random people that it'll be a random, it's like in the moment that they'll just do it and post it. And it's a lot of people, these people don't have a platform yet, you know? And then that will make them
grow their
grow.
platform.
Yeah.
Mm.
But it's most of the time it's people that don't have a platform yet. That it's just they're like nobody is that even gonna see this, and then they post it, you know.
Do you think
Where to me, I'm like, no, people are gonna see this, or it's more likely that people are gonna see it, you know.
do you think that people may sometimes use social media as like an outlet for themselves to like maybe get things off of their chest because that just feels like maybe the only place they can share it?
Yes, I see that a lot actually. Where, like I said, there a lot of people post and they're like, nobody's even probably gonna see this, but it's out, you know. Maybe they don't have anyone to talk to, or I don't know, like. But I do think a lot of people just use it as in just they just want to vent, you know. And even if they can have somebody, a couple people like comment, give them their relate to them or give them advice or something, like that's gonna make them feel better.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that personally myself, like where I was like, you know what, I need to get this off of my chest, and I've used it, and it's like I do it in hopes of like maybe this will help someone else
Yeah.
who's related to it. You obviously have such a big following where I'm sure you probably want people to be able to when you were going to do it, was it something where you were like, hey, I'm so upset that like I just want to get this off, or was like, hey, I want to share this because I want other people to relate to it?
I think a little bit of both, mostly reactive, like in the moment, you know, I just want to say I want to get it out.
Just so upset about whatever you were carrying at that time.
Hmm. And also like I wanted to like I said, I wanted somebody to make me feel like I'm not the only one going through this, you know?
Mm. You
Me.
just want to be heard.
Yeah.
You want to be seen.
Hmm.
And so you were looking for in that moment to just,
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe a little bit of validation, you know?
yeah, I,
Sure, everything, I feel like a lot of the things we do on social media is for validation.
mm, yeah, probably,
Subconsciously, a lot of the time, too, you know?
yeah, I agree with
I
that.
don't even think it's like on purpose. We don't even realize we're doing it. But why do you post a picture where you think you look good? Because you want other people to tell you you look good, too, you know?
Right.
So I think a lot of the time, the things we do and post on social media are for validation
I would,
for yourself, like from others, like,
mm-hmm,
you know,
I would agree
I
with
think I
that.
look good here. So do other people, yeah, they think I look good too, you know?
Right, right. With that, there's obviously a negative side too.
There is.
Has there been times where you felt like where you've been extremely judged or attacked online?
Yes, all the time. I feel like that comes with the territory. Like it just comes with it. But with the whole validation thing, it's all, like you said, there's two sides to it. Like there's times where, like that picture that I'm telling you went viral. I posted it and I'm like, it was just a regular picture that looks like a lot of pictures I posted and it was nothing special and it blew up, you know? But there's been times where I've done like a really good video, or I take a really good picture and I post it and I'm like, this is gonna hit, and it doesn't, and then it's like, oh, like the feeling you get from that is also like so crappy, because that's not what
It's
that's not what I expected.
yeah, it's disappointment. You felt so good about it, and it didn't receive the response that you thought it was going to.
Hmm.
So you're like, you just got to carry that.
You gotta, but you try to not let it bring you down. All right, well, maybe the next one will, but it's hard in the moment.
How do you deal with all the negativity that you receive? Like right, like women are supposed to empower other women, but obviously there's a ton of jealousy and envy
Hmm.
that are in this world that are make it an ugly place at times.
Yeah.
What what do you do
I
when you
feel like
receive?
when I was like pretty new to social media and posting, because it actually took a lot out of me to do that, because I've always, I don't know, I can be pretty shy, and like I get embarrassed easily, where like if something didn't go the way I expected it, I'm like, I shouldn't have done that. But um I just don't deal with it. That's how I deal with it. I don't. I used to like, at first, when it was pretty new to me, I would get a mean comment. I wanted to respond like quick.
Hmm.
Like, I have something to say about you. Something to say about you too. Let me go look at their profile and see what I can find on there.
Yeah, yeah,
But now it's just like, it's kind of funny. Like I said, it's not a big deal.
yeah. I think that's good. I mean, people are gonna do what they want to do, and you just have to let them.
It's funny. Like, how bold do you have to be to comment on somebody's something negative like that? Something positive, it takes no like energy, but something negative to comment on a stranger's post online, crazy work.
Crazy work. I feel like, I mean, they have to be going through something, right? To
Yeah.
to be able to say whatever they want to say, or
Or like it hit a nerve. Like maybe something I posted reminded them of something negative in their life, and then or maybe it's just random, like,
yeah,
but I can't think that deep into it.
people's reactions have nothing to do with you, has everything to do with them,
Yeah.
right? What what is the biggest lie that social media made you believe about yourself?
That you have to look perfect, be perfectly polished all the time, and everything has to look good, and that the way that our life looks online, that it needs to look that way in real life, because that's not realistic.
I mean, it'd be crazy if we if our lives look like our social media posts, right? Because that's when we're seeing the best versions of ourselves. It's like when you go to date somebody or talk to somebody for the first time, I use the term, I'm like, you're meeting the Instagram version of themselves, of that person, right? Because they want to show you the best possible version of themselves, right? They want to wear the best outfit. They want to smell the best. They want to look the best. They want to take you to the best restaurant or whatever, right? But after things settle in for a little bit, they're like, okay, I can be comfortable now. That's kind of like how Instagram is, right?
Yeah. And like obviously you're even everything, like my pictures, like I edit them and I pose a certain way and I stand a certain way, like I don't look like that in person.
Mm.
But it's also, it does mess with your head, like what can I do to look like that, like that picture.
That's. I mean, I appreciate your transparency on that. So when you edit them, is it like you just edit them through Instagram?
Yeah, like I mean, it's nothing.
Like not body, like you're not shit,
No,
right?
my body, obviously I take videos, so if I take a picture and my body looks crazy and then I take a video and it doesn't match up, like, embarrassing, right?
Right.
But maybe if I have a little blemish, I'll like blur it out, or you know what I mean? Like maybe I have like a bruise on my leg, I'll edit it out. Like something small like that, that's like, it's the smallest thing, but you see how you don't want to show that.
Right. Sometimes do you wish like, hey, I could just not have to worry about all that and just show how I
But
am.
that's not gonna work out. When you're a beauty influencer or a fitness influencer and people are looking at you for literally your looks, like, you're not gonna You're obviously going to care about these things.
How does that feel for you when you go in public? Do you feel like you have to uphold yourself to the same standard?
No, I did maybe at some point, like, but I've gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, we're human. Like, we're all like different and online than we do in person. Like, I can't be perfect, and neither are you.
Right.
I used to be very like I used to not like being seen without makeup in public, but I think like a lot of my confidence comes with age too. So now I'm like it is what it is. Like,
I think that naturally happens. The older you get, you realize how much energy goes into like looking good, and you're like, damn, I just don't feel like it today.
yeah, I also think like if the other person is mature enough, they're gonna logically think like, okay, well, this is real, like no big deal.
Do you think that there is a path to having like natural beauty be bigger than like someone that's all glammed up and looking perfect?
What do you mean?
Like just no makeup. Like, hey, we're out here, no makeup today, and I'm gonna post this. Like, do you think that there's a pathway for that to be bigger than the industry that we're in now?
Mm-mm.
No.
Mm.
Why do you think that is? Is it just because of the imperfections of what it is without makeup?
I just I just don't think it matters. Like, if makeup makes you feel good and you always want to wear makeup, then wear it. Like,
Right.
and people shouldn't judge you for that.
Not at
But
all.
there is like a whole like stigma about that. Like, well, if this, like guys, I feel like especially men are worse than girls when it comes to that. Like, well, I don't like when girls wear that much makeup. And I'm like, you honestly probably wouldn't even be able to tell sometimes that I'm wearing makeup, you know?
Yeah.
Obviously I wear it very proud, like because I like it. I wear it because I like it, you know?
Yeah, I think you do hear that a lot from men is why you're wearing so much makeup. And I am in alignment with like, hey, do whatever makes you feel best. If
Like I feel good without makeup too, and I I'm confident in how I look without makeup. I used to not be, but I am now, you know? But also like if wearing a full face of makeup makes me feel good, why do you care, you know?
yeah, 100
And if you like me for me, then you should be happy that makes me feel good.
accepting you at where you're at and who you are.
Yeah, and like some of us, like I was raised that way. Like my mom doesn't go anywhere without being ready and wearing makeup, and like she won't even go take out the trash like, looking crazy, you know? Like my mom gets up every morning and gets ready. It's like the first thing she does. So to me, like that's
That's your standard. That's how you were
like
raised. That's what you know.
like to look good, you know? And it's not because I'm insecure. It's just because it makes me feel good.
A thousand
There's
percent.
nothing wrong with that, you know?
Yeah, it's how we learn what we learn from childhood, right? You learn how to clean from the way your parents clean, right? You learn how to brush your teeth, or you learn how to shave, or you learn how to. I'm sure you know all that. You've learned a lot of traits from your mom, so that's how you grew up, and
I
that's
feel like, and there is a lot of girls that don't like wearing makeup, which is fine too, you know? Just because I like it doesn't mean you should do it too. Like, however you feel good, you know?
yeah. I think it's important. Showing
Whatever
doing what
makes you
feels
feel
best,
good.
right? What's one moment in your real life where everything was falling apart, but online you look like it was just another day and everything was perfect?
I mean, I think it's an ongoing moment, but as you know, I'm a mom of two kids. Um, the whole breakup with my daughter's dad and everything that went with it was a very tough moment. Still is, still dealing with it, but that I think I was dealing with that while my whole social media was taking off.
So it's happening at the same time.
Hmm.
Okay. So you were going through a breakup. Do you want to talk?
So much more than just breakup.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we can talk about it.
Okay. Um, so you had two major things going on at once. You had social media was going like this,
Mhm.
and you were managing a breakup. which is hard, right? It's hard for
Yeah.
anyone to go through a breakup. What was happening? What was going on?
So on the social media side, this was when TikTok was like really taking off, which was COVID 2020 to 2021. That whole I got pregnant when I was with my daughter, who is now 3, almost 4, when I was while COVID was happening. So COVID baby.
Oh man, COVID baby's tough alone.
COVID baby. And there was an infidelity which then led to a breakup. Um while I was pregnant, the whole COVID thing was really tough because I had to stop working pregnant, COVID, and everything seemed okay until I found out like about the infidelity, which I didn't know for the longest time until my daughter was, I think, almost probably like 4 or 5 months old.
Yeah.
So it had already happened. And the way I found out was the other girl reached out to me and told me that she also had a daughter that was 2 months younger than my daughter. So he cheated on me and got another girl pregnant while I was pregnant. Um, and I didn't find out until my daughter was 4 or 5 months old. And I'm going through all of this, but I'm posting on TikTok like I
Nothing's
just
going on.
baby, look how my body snapped back. Like you can do it too, you know?
Wow.
So that was tough and it wasn't I've gotten cheated on before. I think most people have, and it's if it's, you get cheated on, you either break up or you work through it and that's the end of it. But when there's a whole other child involved and so much came with it, then so much more came with it than just the baby and the girl and the infidelity, and it was like so tough.
What man, that's hard. And unfortunately we see that, we see it happen, you know, in this lifetime. Do you or what how did you navigate that situation? Because I'm sure it was not only heartbreaking but devastating.
It was hard. It was extremely hard, especially because obviously it didn't work out with my son's dad, and that was already like I've worked through that so long ago. My son's 12, so my kids are super far apart. They're 9 years apart, so that I felt like I had already dealt with that, and like that's done with. And I, from other people, I would have expected it, but the fact that I didn't expect it from my daughter's dad, and I held him on a pedestal, and to me, he was like the. I literally met this guy, and I was like, "How? What did I do to deserve him?" Like, so what's the catch? Like, why would he choose me? Like,
Mm.
really, he was I held him so high, like he was so amazing to me. So it was really unexpected, and I think that hurt more because if you're with a guy and he's a cheater, he's a player, like whatever, it wouldn't have came as a surprise. But to me, it literally came out of left field. Like I I never saw it coming. The girl reached out to me. It actually wasn't even the girl, which, oh, even worse. It was like the girl's cousin reached out to me, and it wasn't even like it was like, hey, he has another baby that's literally the same age as yours, right? And I was like, no, you have the wrong person. That's how convinced I was that there's no way. Like, this man is so amazing. There's no way. I was like, no, I think you have the wrong person. And she's like, no, I don't. I was like, oh, prove it. Like, I really didn't believe it. Um, it was so unexpected. And that's what made it hurt even more that I was like, there's no way. How? He was with me 24/7. What do you mean? When did he have time to make a whole other child? Like, and then the way that the girl went about it, the way that her family went about it, like it was a huge attack on me. as well. So that made it even harder.
What, man, I'm sure you were confused. Just
It was just a huge mix of emotions.
what, how did, man, how were you able to navigate that situation, like of being a mom and finding all, like being a mom of a newborn and also being a mom of your son and like still having to show up and do all these things while,
So again, I'm still like trying to get my body back to, obviously, you know that I care a lot about how I look because it makes me feel good. You look good, you feel good, you know? So I'm still like, I actually went back to the gym 2 weeks after I had Camille.
is that safe?
2 weeks. Probably not.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
So like obsessed with looking a certain way.
Right.
So and I actually right after I had my daughter was when I took the gym very serious. Like I had already been going to the gym for years, but I had never taken it super serious where I'm like, let's focus on form, like let's do the stuff that's really gonna transform your body. Let's focus on diet. Like I was diving into that like so deep. And so I'm doing this, right? And I'm a mom to a brand new baby and I have a 12-year, well, at the time my son was 9. I have a 9-year old and I'm dealing with him being homeschooled for COVID. And so I'm dealing with all this stuff, right? And then I find this out and I'm having to figure out like what I'm gonna do with this whole situation. And man, it was tough.
What was the hardest moment for you?
Mhm. I think just trying to regulate everything, like trying to keep everything under control, because at the same time, like I'm still trying to keep it together my whole life, you know? So that was really tough.
Did you guys, your daughter's father, did you guys, when you found all this stuff out, did you guys stay together? Did you guys separate?
I,
Did you want to work?
like I said, I didn't believe it. It just sounds insane, but I didn't believe it. I didn't believe the girl's cousin because it wasn't even the girl that told me, especially coming from it wasn't even coming from the direct source, right? So I'm like, and he's doing everything to convince me that it's not true. Like he's still lying to me at this point, right? So I'm like, okay, like why would he lie to me, you know? So we stayed together for a few months, but this girl like continues to like pick at it and message me and tell me like I would post a picture of my daughter and she would be like, oh, how cute. She just turned 6 months. Well, his other daughter just turned 4 months.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay. Oh, how nice he's there for her, but can't be there for his other daughter. And I'm like, okay, like, so, and it's the girl's cousin, right? She's attacking me and attacking me and attacking me. And then she has another one of her cousins reach out and then another one. And it's like, and they're like, yeah, I really need to talk. We really need to talk to him. He needs to be there for this other kid. And, the girl's mom wants to know more about it and this and that. And I'm like, they're literally attacking me online. They're making fake profiles to message me. They're commenting on my TikToks like, oh, like you're with a deadbeat dad. Like they're literally just attacking me all over social media, like bullying me, right? The girl's whole family, the other girl's whole family. And I'm just like, okay, like where it got too much. It got to a point where I was like, damn it, something's obviously not right here, you know? Like, there's no way these people are so passionate about like coming at me this way and it's not true. So then they start like sending me proof, like, well, here's messages, here's a video she took of him at the gym, here's this, here's that. And I'm like, okay, it's real. Like, I didn't want to accept it. I'm like, okay, it's real. Like, it's real. So I I put the old classic go through the phone, and I at some point I never had his passcode, so I went through his Apple Watch and sure enough he had messages with the girl on Facebook of all places that he doesn't even use his Facebook, but and he's telling her like, please don't tell Laura the truth. Like, please, if she messages you, just pretend you don't know me. Pretend you don't know what they're talking about. Like, and I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Like, it's real. But I had to see it with my own eyes because I didn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. I was like, there's no way.
That's interesting. I mean, there's a couple things in that. I think when we're so in love with somebody and we feel this way about them, we, some, what they say is love is blind, right? And so you don't want to see that person another way, so we can begin to um distort our reality,
Yeah.
right? How long did it take for you? So you were receiving these messages for a while, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
How long were you receiving these messages before you finally understood that what you were receiving was true?
Like a month. So it didn't take that long, but yeah, kind of. I didn't believe it the first time I heard it. I want to say it was like sometime in September, and then by the end of October/November was when I was like, okay, like I've had enough. It was at this point these girls were like bullying me, attacking me. Angry that he was there for my daughter and not there for this other child. So, yeah, it took about a month, and then I was finally like, all right, like, I have to find out. I have to know the truth, because they're not gonna stop, you know. So that's when I did that. I found out, and it was, that night was one of the, I will never forget it. It was one of the toughest nights of my life.
Just finally accepting
The acceptance, yeah.
the acceptance. Why do you think that you avoided it for so long?
I just didn't want to accept it. I've gone through this. I've gone through infidelity before. I've gone through, like it didn't work out with my son's dad. Like I didn't want to go through it again. And he's such a good dad to my daughter. He was so amazing to her that I was like, I didn't want to break up that relationship.
Yeah,
Um,
it's tough. A lot of people,
and it's embarrassing. It was embarrassing. Like, this girl, they always say like you can't be mad at the girl. Like it's like the guy. And I was very angry at him, but also like, of course I was mad at her too, like she knowingly disrupted my relationship. Everybody knew me and him were together. Everybody knew I was pregnant. Like, and I'm saying everybody because it was on social media. It was everywhere. Like,
right,
if you knew him, we were together, and we had already been together for months. So it's like, why would you go do that? They
right,
like
right.
her too. Like I was more angry at him, and till this day I'm still hurt. It's towards him, but it is also towards the girl, because if she didn't know that he was in a relationship, like, because that happens, sometimes like you're talking to someone and you don't even know they're in a relationship, but like she knowingly disrupted our relationship. You know what I mean? And that, it hurt so much. And it's like, as a woman, you did that, and him, like, obviously, like, it's so easy to be like, well, men will be men.
Right.
I obviously, his respect, it should have been towards me, and I blame him more and the most, but I still was angry at the girl, and especially the way they went about it, and how much they attacked me and how much they bullied me as if I wasn't already going through literally like the toughest moment of my life.
It's it's unfortunate that people do that. That, like the bullying goes on and the attacking goes on. And it seems, and I hate to assume, but it seems like it was out of jealousy. Right.
Yeah.
Did you guys, are you guys together now? Did you guys, I think I asked earlier, but did you guys try to work on it? Are you guys together now? What does that look like?
No, we're definitely not together. We did try more than once to work it out, and again, a big reason of why I still tried, even though he did the most horrible thing ever to me. Because also my thing is like, anybody that knows me knows the worst thing you could do is lie to me. Like, it's the worst thing you can ever do to me. I don't respect people that lie. I think it's so much easier to just tell the truth, even if it's not pretty. Like, I'll respect you more for, especially as a man. I think you should be able to tell the truth and be honest, and um, I tried right away when it happened. I think I was so afraid of him being with someone else or her or anything that I was like, I didn't want to let go. So it was like we broke up for maybe a week, and then I was like, we can work through it, but you can't do this and you can't do that and you can't do this and you can't leave the house and you can't talk to this person and you can't talk to this person. So it was like, we already know it's not going to work out when you have to put all these rules, and it didn't make sense. But like, I was trying anything to save it, and a lot of the reason why I even tried was because he's such a great dad. Like, as far as him being a dad to both of my kids, not just my daughter, like, he is an amazing father, and I'll never take that from him. But obviously, like, as a partner, that's not what I wanted, and still not what I want. And we tried, like I said, right away, and then we took a break, and we broke up for months, and then we tried again, and the trust was broken. There was no fixing it.
Yeah, it's interesting you said, when you broke up, like, I don't want to be with him, but I didn't want anyone else to be with him.
Mm-hmm.
I bet I mean, I've been through that myself. It's just the attachment.
And I still genuinely think he's such a good person. So I was like, okay, he messed things up with me, but like he gets to start fresh with someone else and be this great person, and it's like, oh, like then I have to live with that.
It's, I think it's beautiful that you said that you can still see the beauty in who he is as a person, that he's still a good person. Um, it's hard, and I think a lot of people deal with this too, is they may be cheated on, or they may go through a breakup, and their partner may hurt them, and then they go to see their partner move on, and their partner grows and becomes a better person.
Yeah.
That sounds like maybe that's what's happened with him, and that's hard for you. Is that hard for you to see?
Well, I always thought he was a good person, even when that happened. Like, have never thought that he's a bad person, because he just made a mistake, I really mad. and but I've never thought he was a crappy person.
Mm.
I just think he was immature, and me and you have had this conversation. Like, men do stupid things, especially when you're young.
Man,
Like,
the dumbest.
did the stupid thing, and it had the worst possible outcome. But he has grown as a person. Like, he's become an even better person, and I definitely think he learned from this, and I definitely think he's remorseful. And but it just wasn't for me, like, he's grown, he's changed, he's better, but it still, like, doesn't take away what he did to me, and it's just something that I choose to not live with.
Yeah, I mean, that says a lot about who you are as a human being, that you can stand up here and say, that takes courage, point blank, period,
Yeah.
to be cheated on, to be done wrong, and can still say, hey, he's still a good person. He just made a mistake.
Yeah.
Mistakes don't define who we are. Nobody's perfect. We've talked about that this whole episode. Nobody's perfect, but it says a lot about who you are, that you're able to see that in him, and who he is. I wanna talk a little bit about single moms, because you're a single mom. I think single moms are superheroes, have superhuman strength. Like, I think they're just built different. They're able to handle more. They're incredible. But just because you're a superhero doesn't mean that you don't have bad days. What's the hardest thing about being a single mom that people don't see?
I think just how lonely it can be.
Mm.
I feel like there's a lot of times where I express, like, I feel so alone, being a single mom, and people are like, well, you have your kids, and I'm like, yeah, and it makes me feel lonelier, because when you have kids, you're supposed to have a partner to help with, like, with all of that, and it does almost make you feel even lonelier, because if you're let's say you're single and you have no kids, and I mean, you can get up and do whatever you want, you know?
Right.
Go hang out with friends, you could go out, you could eat whatever. I can't do those things like whenever I feel like it. Obviously, there's times where I can, but I can't just get up and go. I can't go take a trip. I can't go, like all the kids are the center of my world, and that comes first, and I have to deal with that, and then everything else is second. So there's a lot of times where I'm like I'm home and I have my kids, and I'm like, oh, I really wish I had help with this right now. Like, I really wish I could just hop in the shower right now and then lay down and read a book or whatever. I can't do that, I still have to make sure they're taken care of. Like, I still have to cook for them. I still have to help my son with his homework. I still have to put my daughter in the bath, and it's like so exhausting.
What what's what's your favorite thing about being a mom?
The same thing, that it's just so rewarding. Like, I get to do all of that and then go to bed and be like, I did that. you know? So I think it is like, it's a double-edged sword. Like, yes, it can be very, very difficult. And I think any mom would agree, even moms that aren't single moms, like, it's still really tough and really exhausting. Like, but it's so rewarding. Like, you feel so good afterwards. And when you're in bed at the end of the night and my little daughter's laying next to me and my son's asleep in his room, I'm like,
It's the best thing.
that was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think about this often. Some days it's just hard to be me. Some days I just wake up, I'm like, man, I don't feel like making my breakfast. I don't feel like making my protein shake. I don't even want to get dressed.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to but the fact that you have to do that for yourself, and you have two kids, you got to do that for yourself. You got to do that for your daughter. Your son's a little bit older, so I'm sure he can get himself ready, but you still have to make sure that he's fed, and you have to get him to school.
No, and he still has to do it. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm not on him, he won't do it. Like,
Right. I guess you spoke very highly about your daughter's father, but there's still times when you got to play mom and dad.
mm-hmm.
What's the hardest thing about that?
Being both.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just don't want to do it. Like, sometimes you just don't feel like it. Like, there's things, especially like for my son, he's a boy, and there's things that I don't want to take him to the barbershop. You think I want to sit in a barbershop for an hour?
What is that like? I've always wondered what that's like. What is it like to be a mom and take your son to the barbershop? What is that like? Is it uncomfortable?
It can be sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just awkward. I just don't want to do it, but I have to.
How does he feel? Because he's like, oh, I got mom in the barbershop with me. He probably wants to get a burst fade, but you want him to get something else.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little fight now, but he's actually such a good kid that, like, he just does whatever makes me happy. Still, I mean, we'll see once he's older, but right now, whatever makes mom happy.
Is it hard being a boy mom, like with not like having a father figure like in the home?
Yeah, it's really tough. It's just, it can be a little odd,
Well, because there's certain things that a boy has to learn, right?
A lot of things I just don't know, but like, you figure it out, like I said, he's a really easy kid. He's a really nice, considerate kid. So it's like, he does everything he can to make my life easy. Whether that's like not getting the haircut he wants and doing whatever I want, or like helping me with his sister, or he just does everything he can to make my life easier.
Sounds like he's a good kid.
He's such a good kid.
Is there any moments, or has there been a moment where you feel guilt for them growing up in a single household or a broken home?
Yeah, I mean, that comes every single day. I feel like, especially because I had the opportunity to give them that, like, if it were up to my daughter's dad, we would work on it, So like, the option is there probably, but so it's like, I feel even more guilty because then I feel like it falls on me, like, you're the one that didn't want to have this for them. But I have to be happy to be able to make them happy. And, so yes, a lot of guilt comes with it, but I know that I'm doing what's best for me and essentially them.
So the way you deal with that is just being the best mom that you possibly can. Try to give them both sides.
I try really hard, and it's hard for me because I grew up in a broken home, so I know firsthand how much that affected me and affects me till this day because I'm sure a lot of my reactions and everything come from that. But I just know that if I'm at peace, they will feel better. And being in a relationship that I don't really want to be in just to keep a home together is not going to bring me peace for them.
I mean, that speaks a lot about who you are again, right? You're choosing self-love over just doing, what people
Right.
probably would say that you're supposed to do. You mentioned that you grew up in a broken home yourself. Is there anything that taught you to do differently in being a mom now and raising them in a broken home?
Yeah, I mean, I had neither of my parents around. Like, my dad was just completely out of the picture, and my mom didn't raise us either. I was actually raised by an aunt, and I just never wanted them to feel like they didn't have their mom, Like, I could never count on mine, and I didn't want them to ever feel that neglect because it's like one of the worst feelings. And I feel like your mom should be like the one person you can go to for anything. And
Facts.
I want them to feel that way. Even with my son, like since he was young, I'm like, you tell mom everything, okay? So it's like I want them to feel like I'm a safe space because I never had that. So
Mm.
I think it helped me actually, if I'm looking at like the positive side of it, like I want to be everything I didn't have.
Has there ever been a moment when you feel like I just want to throw your hands up, like I can't do this?
Hmm. All the time. It's overwhelming. Being a mom is so overwhelming. Being a single mom, especially. But yeah, I mean, and there has been times where I have had to call my daughter's dad and been like, you need to help me. It's like right now I'm extremely overwhelmed. Just, my daughter's crying, my son's in a bad mood. Like I'm in a bad mood because I worked all day. Like I have to work full time. I still like want to do things for myself and sometimes like obviously I sacrifice that, but still there's things that have to get done and on top of it, I still have to be a mom.
Yeah. What's been the hardest? Has there been like a hardest day or a hardest moment that you can remember of being a mom?
Yes. And I called you.
Oh yeah, yeah, I remember this.
So as I we obviously as I split up from my daughter's dad and I became a single mom, I that was never the plan. So I struggled so much to adjust, especially financially when that's not what I was counting on, And I tried to still upkeep the same lifestyle I had when I had a partner, and we shared expenses. And I remember like I had to do it on my own, and one time there it got to the point where it was too much, and I remember there was a day that everything caught up to me, and I called you, and I'm like, Matt, they're literally gonna turn my lights off. Like if I don't pay that today, my lights will be off by the morning. And they did turn my lights off. I remember, and I was like, I don't know where to go. Like I'm struggling, and I remember that night I was like, what am I doing? Like because I wasn't making the best decisions financially and but it was hard to really like figure it out on my own when that was never the plan.
What how did you alter what you were doing after that moment? Did you alter things, or what changed for you?
It was like acceptance, like this, yeah, you can't keep living like this. Like, obviously, things need to change, you know? And also, it was like, I needed to be more serious about my job and about how I was choosing to spend my money. And, you know, like, I had to get it together.
What's advice that you would give, I guess, to like single moms that have gone through something like that, or like, or so they don't run into something like that?
I just think it's accepting it a little sooner that, you know, like, make a plan as soon as something like that happens. Like, you have to have a backup plan. You have to have like some cushion, you know? You can't just be like, oh, I'll figure it out. Like, you can't really do that as a mom. You can't be just, oh, I'll figure it out, because it's not just you. You know, you're thinking for you and your children. So I just, you had to think a little further. It was just like one day at a time. Like, you have to plan a little more when you have other people relying on you.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Like I've said it before, but moments of breaking and rebuilding aren't easy. So I appreciate your vulnerability. We've, you've been through a lot, right? You've been through a lot. You could have just thrown your arms and given up and said, forget it. You've lost a lot too. You lost trust and love and a future that you thought you were going to have.
Yeah.
But there's also something that you probably have gained out of that. Who is Laura today that she wasn't before?
I think, I mean, I've came a long way and you've seen the whole process. Um, this, obviously, I have been through so much, and especially this situation we talked about, like, you told me yourself, like, since that happened, you don't look the same. Like, it really did.
Which is hard to hear, I just want everyone to know that that's very hard to hear.
Like, maybe I knew that, but hearing it from someone else, and a close friend at that, is like, it's real, you know? So obviously, like, that rewired my whole nervous system, and now it's like trying to regulate it. You told me you don't laugh the same, you don't smile the same, you don't have the same look in your eyes, and it's true. Like, after a lot of hurt, like, it changes you, you know,
Mm-hmm.
a lot. And it changed me. And for a long time, I want to say I was very angry for years. And not just at the situation or at him or anything like that, but just in general. Like, I became a very angry, bitter person. And I try really hard to not take it out on others, but I feel like it still kind of shows in everything you do, and friendships and other relationships and stuff like that. Like, my fuse was so short. And like, I my tolerance was like, I wasn't really willing to put up with shit, you know? But now I feel like I'm finally at a place where, like, I don't want to be angry. I don't want to be bitter. You know, I don't want to be mad. Like, I want to get back to who I was. And I feel like this year, especially, like, I'm growing my faith again. Like, I'm trying to reconnect with God. And I feel like I, I'm so grateful, because in all this, like, dark and negative stuff, like, I still have so much to be grateful for and so much to be happy about. Like, I'm healthy, and all my kids, like, all my loved ones are healthy, and my kids are healthy, and I have a good job, and I have a home, and I have so much to that we take for granted. And maybe it's little things, but it's huge to me, you know? So I feel like that alone makes me so happy. And having gratitude will really change
Everything,
everything.
everything. Bring you back to center.
And like, the important things I have, you know? And I was just actually talking to a friend about this yesterday, how what is there to complain about, you know? Like health is wealth, and being healthy, like they say that, she told me, if you don't have health, you have one problem. And if you have health, you have a bunch of problems.
Mm.
Because when you are
Too focused.
thing, that's all you can
That's all you
focus
think about.
on.
Yep.
And you could have all the money in the world, you could have everything, but if you don't have health, like nothing else matters. That's all you could think about. But if you're healthy, oh, well, I don't have money for this, or I can't do this, or this is going on, or like,
Yeah, that's a wise quote. Shout out to your friend for sharing that. So it sounds like what you gained from this experience was just learning how to be grateful for even the little things. You know, gratitude. I think it's absent with so many of us. You just mentioned how, health. If you have your health, you pretty much
you have it all.
you have it all.
I feel like anything else you could work through. Everything else has a solution.
I believe that. What is healing look like for you? Are you still healing? What does that look like for you?
Yes, it
I
is
want the messy, I want the real, I want what it felt like, what it looks like.
tough, but I do think like I'm in a good place now, and it's taken a lot, and it took a lot of acceptance, just for the longest time I was just suppressing it and ignoring it and doing things to distract myself until I accepted it, and it was like, okay, I need help, because I was struggling so bad mentally and emotionally, and it had to get really, really dark for me to be like, okay, like I need help, you know? And once I accepted that and I started receiving help, and I mean, I do therapy, I see a psychiatrist, that, I've tried everything because I was willing to do whatever it took to feel normal again. Because you start to not feel normal, You start to feel like things get really weird. I feel like once you're in a really dark place.
What what was the hardest moment about all that? Or what was the you mentioned weird, like what was the hardest or weird moment for you?
Like I said, I'm like really getting back in touch with my faith this year. I grew up very religious in a typical Mexican household, grew up Catholic, and I always prayed, and I always like left everything in God's hands, and like, and then once all of that happened, I got very angry at God, and I was like, okay, there is no God, because there's no way these things would be happening to me, because I'm such a good person. Like, I have a good heart. Why would these things happen to me, right? Um, so I strayed away from my faith a lot because I was so angry. I was so angry, and like I had to blame someone. I had to blame someone, right? So I was like, let me blame God.
Oh man.
There's no way. So for the longest time, it was just I had no relationship with God. Like, I just,
It was easier to be mad.
yeah.
It was easier to be.
So that was really weird when
Yeah, that's
I
very weird.
relied on that my whole life.
I think a lot of people do that too when they don't have understanding. Like, why is this happening to me? They don't know where to go, who to blame, right?
Mhm.
So I think that's very natural. How how did you re how have you began to rebuild your confidence and self-worth?
Like I said, I think therapy has helped a lot, but it just comes from me. It got to a point where I'm like, I want to feel different. I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to be angry. I don't want to avoid things, like it, I I had to like want to deal with it.
What's what was the hardest thing about facing?
Um, the acceptance, like I said, it was just accepting it. I didn't want to. Because it's easier to ignore anything. It's so much easier to avoid things, and just keep going until like, but actually like stopping and dealing with things, really difficult.
What's what's one thing you would do or you would say to the woman who was betrayed in that moment? What would you tell her right now?
I wish that I didn't feel so sorry for myself,
Mm.
because I did like, I remember when it first happened, I even told you, I'm like, I'm the victim here, but also like, I sat in it for a lot longer than I should have, like feeling like the victim and feeling like so bad for myself. Like looking back, yes, I wish I could hug me, but in that moment, I also needed to not feel so bad for myself because that made me not take accountability and want to change too, and want to get help and want to feel better. Like I was just sitting in those negative feelings for so long.
Did you just get tired of that and just like, all right, I'm off of the victim mentality now, and I'm just onward with healing?
Yeah, I wanted to feel stronger, and I feel like I'm a pretty strong girl, and I wanted to like get my power back. I wanted to feel strong again because I did it for the longest.
I feel like this whole episode has been about survival. I mean, that's to me what the theme is of kind of what your story's been over the, I mean, basically kind of your whole life, right?
Hmm.
Where's what's this is, this our favorite question in the show. We ask everybody, what's one moment in your life where you felt like you couldn't go left or right and you ran out of wiggle room? What's a no wiggle room moment for you?
Um, I want to say like finally letting go of that relationship and accepting like the moment that I was like, okay, I'm doing this by myself.
Mm.
Like it's me and my kids and that's it. That moment where I had to like accept it that this is my life, like this is what it's gonna be. Single mom, two kids, two different dads. Like, it was like I had to do something because I couldn't stay in the same spot.
Yeah, that gives me chills. I think, if you're listening and you can't relate, I mean, I can only imagine how heavy that moment felt and all of the fear and doubt and thoughts of failure and the confusion and what am I going to do? Who am I going to be? How am I going to figure this out? And just dealing with the heartbreak, but having the courage to say, I'm going to do this on my own is tough. So tough. So I applaud you for that
Thank
because
you.
yeah, that's heavy. Do you have, I mean, I've asked you for your advice on some of these scenarios, but what would you tell a woman who's in that situation?
You have to love yourself, which we talk about self-love a lot. And I think a lot of us think we have it and we don't. Like, because I've always been a pretty confident girl, or that's what it looks like, but it's more than just looking good, the physical aspect, because I've never considered myself like it's never been about the outside because that is so easy to change. That is so easy to change. And you might think like, I know I deserve better. I know but like if you're not acting on it, it doesn't matter what you know. You know? Like I know I didn't deserve that. I knew I deserved better. I knew I wanted more for myself, but if I wasn't acting on it, it doesn't matter.
I think acting on it is important because
So even if because it's not easy, and even if it's not what you want, you have to force yourself. And I have forced myself to do a lot of things that are so uncomfortable and that I don't want to do, but I know that it's gonna give me the best outcome.
Yeah, acting on it is huge. I think in a one, and I'm gonna ask you a question in a moment, but I think self actions are huge. So if you want to know what that looks like, say out, tell yourself, would someone who loves themselves react this way? Would someone who loves themselves, talk to someone that way? Would someone who loves themselves do this or that? What do you think real self love looks like?
Mm, I think it's that. I think it's doing things that you sometimes you don't want to do and letting go of things that you want for a better outcome, you know? Because there's been a lot of times where I'm like, but I really want this. And I know it's not good for me, whether that's like relationships, like jobs, whatever it is. Like, I'm like, I really want that. But if it's not what you need, then you have to accept it, you know? And the quicker you do, like, the closer you are to getting what you do deserve.
Mm. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you for being on the Wiggle Room. Since you are popping on social media, do you want to share where people can follow you at to get some, fitness tips, how to get their form right?
My handle, my IG handle
Yeah.
is underscore my last name and my first name.
You want to spell it?
Yo Laura, Yolosiolura. And then everything else is linked on there.
Okay. Cool. Well, again, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. I'm grateful for our friendship. And we'll see y'all soon.